War Diary. Sergeant Mitchell, January 9th, 1946, New York City, Midland Beach defensive line. Of course we knew the Empire would come. We heard about the catastrophic losses in the Atlantic, even though the Agitation and Propaganda Department broadcasts kept boasting about the losses inflicted on the Germans. Our political commissar, about the age of my eldest, believes all of it, of course. But some of us older hands who've been around before the Civil War won't be taken for a ride that easily. What we didn't know was that they had weapons that powerful. We still don't know exactly what happened in Philly, but we could feel the tremors even here, and we've all seen the explosions. Strangely, you'd expect the party officials to react, but the usual channels have been dead quiet. We had fortified the beach as best we could. Houses were evacuated, and we had a row of 105s installed on the upper floors, mortars on the roofs, the works. We were in our trenches in front of the boulevard when the bombardment began. It didn't hit us from the air, but even the commissar couldn't deny that whatever losses we had inflicted in the Atlantic wasn't enough when the first naval shells started hitting us. Total inferno. All you could do was duck in your trench and pray. Didn't matter if you were the world's best soldier or some green drafty, any of those shells go down near you and you're a goner. By the time the landing craft came into view, all we had left were a few 50 cal positions in our trenches. The buildings behind us were gone, reduced to rubble, and with them most of the fire support. Air Force tried to pounce on them, but there were just too many, and their lightships put up one hell of a barrage of AAA. When the landing craft opened, they spat out what looked like small tanks, which immediately covered the beaches with mortars and suppressing fire. The trench didn't last long. What were we supposed to do against tanks with 50s and hand grenades? We never got command, but any fool could see Staten Island was lost. Me and some of the boys from 3rd Platoon were among the last ones to make it across the bridge to Jersey before they blew it. Since then, we're holding the West Bank and they seem to be content to dig in from it. War Diary. Oberleutnant Hartmann, January 29, 1946, Jacksonville, Florida. We've taken the beach. There was barely anyone left. We've seen some charred corpses and burnt-out vehicles. We can't smell anything through the gas mask. There's so much dust in the air, it's like the whole area is covered in ash, even though it's been a few days since the bomb. That was a sight to see. By God, if the Americans had dropped something like that on Hamburg, I'm just glad we did them first. After the beach came the swamp, but nothing had prepared us for the city. Some shells of buildings were left, but mostly it was just rubble. I don't think they knew what was coming. There were dead civvies everywhere in the streets. I almost threw up in my mask when one came running towards us all burnt. We put him down, best thing you can do for them, make it end quickly. They're holding the other side of the river still, but there's not many of them and they're unorganized. I think we'll make short work of them and then we can get out of this hellhole. As German troops are moving through the irradiated wasteland of northern Florida, an extensive air battle is being fought over New England. We are facing a large number of American fighters, and we only currently have the long-range heavy fighters available, but light aircraft are being brought into New York City Airport, and we will be moving north and trying to take another airport here to tip the scales in our favor for the overall invasion of the USAS. In Florida, we'll be moving south once reinforcements have arrived, clearing out Miami, and we will be wiping out the remaining American troops that have been trapped there, and then we'll be moving northwards. Interestingly enough, despite the fact that the USAS actually have a very large number of troops, including 160 from our information, mechanized infantry divisions and 19 tank divisions, which is pretty much on par in tanks with what we have and probably superior in terms of mechanization. We haven't really seen an awful lot of it so far. Most of the counterattacks that we're seeing in New York are done by mechanized, but they are not particularly successful. Now we are able to pierce the armor on their half trucks, and while they are certainly powerful, so far the Marine Sturmpanzer divisions are holding themselves with their small caliber guns. So once the actual tank divisions arrive, then I think the situation here is going to, at least until they go on an actual defensive line, is going to become fluid very, very rapidly. And also we can see that at least the that the tank divisions that we're being attacked by are half strength. So the Americans do not have, they have the divisions, but they don't have the number of tanks. That said, underestimating the American economy at this point would be a mistake. So we will be proceeding carefully here. The Deep South Air Zone is another zone of significant air battles, where we are seeing the heavy fighter wings of the Luftwaffe fighting it out with the American counterattacks and interceptors. And once we actually have the airport in Florida, then that again will be an opportunity to bring in lighter aircraft. I think we might still have a few fighters in Europe that we can actually be bringing. Yeah, we've still got a fair amount of fighters in Ukraine, and we are going to need the Aufklärungsgeschwader at some point as well. But we'll bring the Ukrainian aircraft over to Cuba already in preparation, and we'll add them to the American theater, where most of the Luftwaffe at this point is concentrating. And yes, we are going to need some of the scout wings. This is all naval patrols. Okay, these are all naval patrol wings. We don't really need those anymore. But we'll bring some scout planes over as well once the air war has taken a turn. I'm not sure where the Dutch are going. They are probably again trying to invade Canada. But we should have reinforcements relatively soon, and it looks like the Finns at this point have managed a successful invasion in Central America. So they are opening a second front here as well. All right, but we are going back to the fighting on the ground. Florida is on the wait until additional troops arrive. We are waiting. There is a potential counterattack with mechanized forces here, so we are digging in with the Marines and waiting for reinforcements. And the same goes for New York, where we are currently holding reasonably well, despite the fact that we haven't had a chance to actually dig in. So far the defense is holding, and that is mostly due to the skill of the marine divisions that are fighting on the lines here. It looks like one of the divisions has been pushed back in the north, so we will see if we can hold the north here. They are consistently attacking, giving very little rest to the troops. Once we have sufficient infantry in place for a counterattack, there's more American tank divisions now coming in. Once we have sufficient infantry in place for a potential counterattack, then we will try to widen the lines here and then bring in our own panzer divisions. Alternatively, we could attempt to bring in where do we have? We could start bringing in some Second Army divisions, or alternatively Guderian's troops, and start shipping some of the tank divisions alone. It might probably not be a bad idea. Not the full army, but let's bring in four of the four modern divisions from Guderian's tanks, and get them on the New York City line as well. Some improvements to mining have been made, and everything else here is pretty much ongoing. So I think at this stage we'll do advanced small airframes and with Focke-Wulf, but the light fighters that are coming in should probably be sufficient for what we're doing. We do have a naval doctrine available, so I think at this point it's not an awful lot we need here. Probably more interesting because the Marines are currently fighting. No, the Marines are already fully done, so we can actually concentrate on naval doctrines here and do the hunter-killer groups. So that's that. Divisions in the north are holding, but very, very heavy counterattacks here. So we are going to need reinforcements relatively soon if this is to hold. And So far, not much in terms. Mostly, they're sending the fighters up in the air, but they are taking quite horrific losses here. So 1 to 5 losses is pretty heavy, and we have. We have General Models infantry arriving in Florida. We do have to keep an eye on the New York situation until reinforcements arrive there. So I'm gonna have to double check that that these divisions are actually on the move now and making their way up north. Otherwise, we might have to divert some other troops, because Guderian's Panzer Division, Guderian's Panzer Division seem to have trouble logistically to make their way to New York as well. Okay, things got a little buggy. I had to actually manually. I thought these were already underway. I had to manually assign these. So relief is underway. Let's make sure that the Marine Sturmpanzer divisions are holding. We are going to award some medals in the field here to the 15th, which for the conquest of New York City. And I think organization is probably the first thing that we're going to give them. And who else is in the area? We might as well award a few more, because we're now getting a fair amount of political power due to the takeover of the state and the relegation of the Kaiser to secondary duties. So we will be, we'll give them recon as well. Okay, and I think we can probably award some of the tank divisions if we have any that, yeah, I think Fuchs's tank divisions are having some. So let's give them, let's award some medals here as well, because they are going to be in the field relatively soon. And that allows, this is still old pending medals, so we may as well start with that. All right, and we'll see if we have anything else in the field. I think these divisions, okay, first divisions are arriving here. These divisions in the field, the Marine Sturmdivision here can receive the Iron Cross second class as well. And the same here. This is a very highly decorated, the 7th is a very highly decorated division at this point. We've got a Knight's Cross, Swords and Diamonds. So we are probably going to award another second class, and the Oak Leaves, and that gets us sorted. All right. So more medals will be awarded for higher combat effectiveness, and obviously we have to fight back against the enemy onslaught. But with the troops arriving in Florida and not much going on in the south here, we can already start moving, honestly. So the divisions are freshly disembarked, but the Marines are holding the landing areas, so there's really not much danger. Middle Africa is, German East Asia is actually moving in. So we'll be taking over the territory here as well, and we've got 17 Sturm divisions coming in. Further Sturm divisions coming in. That should not be a problem whatsoever. There is a separate naval landing from the Turkish in support, but not really any necessity for that. I think we can assign the majority of these divisions in the north already. So let's get a second front line in the north up, and we can probably grab a few more that aren't assigned. There we go. And their task is going to be pushing north all the way up to Atlanta, and obviously we want all the divisions that are on the offensive order. There we go. Okay, so first offensive operation getting ready there. Are we moving the infantry divisions? Okay, they still can't make their way through to New York. Unfortunately, the game seems to have bugged out here to me. Okay, I can manually assign them now. That wasn't possible before. Okay, so it's the same as with the tank divisions. I have to get them to the port, and then I can manually assign the move orders into New York City. Yeah, that's how it's going to have to happen. We are holding in the north. We've got some reserves in now, so we've still got some reserves from friendly troops, but the Sturmpanzer divisions are basically the ones holding. The other divisions are getting pushed back relatively easily. Fortunately, the Americans haven't deployed much in terms of air force, really. Otherwise, this would have been a different situation. All right, let's clear out the supply situation in Florida. And once we've got the railways connected here, since we are holding a port, an additional port, I think that should work. And the Sichuan clique has capitulated, which I think is the last remaining, or was the last, yeah, with that, the Qing government has completed the takeover, I think, mostly. I'm not sure if they're still fighting with the Kumul Khanate, but they have taken over China, and the Chinese Empire is Imperial China is back on the map. All right, do we have the Air Force now in the air? Yes, we are starting to see. Yeah, we've got a good number. We've got 8 fighter wings up now on air superiority. So with that, we are actually overmatching the Americans now with who are bringing in some more support, but we should be a match now in the air for the Americans, and I think they are going to start losing planes very quickly. A bigger problem here still is the air detection, where the Americans obviously are better. We are trying to build a radar station on the ground by the combat engineers in order to support the operation there, and we are pushing back. Yeah, China reigns supreme once more. The Qing Empire has taken over. Yeah, has taken over all of China. Florida. How was Finland getting on here? Okay, Bulgaria is now joining the fight, and it looks like the Central America states are going to fall, actually, which is going to open up another front for the Americans in Mexico. But right now we're organizing our troops here in the south and boxing in the Americans in order to take Miami, which is still currently under American control, but we'll be working with them there without too much trouble. This is all done, so I think a few aircraft techs that we can. Oh, that's not really going to be helping anybody. Yeah, we've got a mountaineer tech that we can do still, so let's do that one. And yeah, lots of models infantry is now in the area, which means we can now begin shipping the second army under Weber in as well, for a concentrated push along the lines. So second army, 24 divisions, with the task of recapturing the southern states lines, which we had previously held in the Civil War. And we'll see if we can manage a breakout in New York, or if we're just going to be holding here for the time being, while the air war is raging very, very hotly. Lots of American planes deployed, and we might have to start training up a few more air groups, honestly. Let's do that over in Europe, where we have the available home air bases. So Berlin Air Base will create. We should have a fair amount of light fighter craft available, which might come in quite useful. Let's see. We've got a few heavy fighters here as well, so we might as well get a few of those. And we've got the Focke-Wulf A4s. Yeah, we've got no end of these. So let's train a few up, and we can bring these over to the States once they are trained up. So we'll do another one of the. We've got a lot of the Dorniers actually here. Let's get these out as well. So a few more bombers on the ground for support operations. We do need an airbase in Florida. I think it's near Miami, but we're getting there. All right, troops are on the move. The troops need to organize themselves, but the infantry can take the south without too much trouble. And we're waiting for the reinforcements in the north to arrive. Okay, the troops from the 9th Army are now on the move. Good. And we should be seeing Guderian's. No, Guderian's troops are still not moving. So let's get them. Let's break through the bureaucracy and get them moved by hand to New York City, because game can't figure it out. So is it a problem? Maybe it's no. It shouldn't be an escort issue. Anyway. Troops moving, and reinforcements are underway. How are my operatives doing right now? We've still got the false intelligence under wraps here. We could start some sabotage operations as well, but I think at this point I'm more interested in just reducing this propaganda efforts and just reducing the amount of. Just reducing the stability and the war support. So it is working slowly. Mostly convoy raids and the combat casualties have caused trouble. But once we have the air under control and we begin the strategic bombing campaign, then things will on the ground will change quite a bit as well. All right, I might shift one of the tank divisions north from the Marines. But we are getting large numbers of reinforcements. Unfortunately, the Allied troops are, as usual, very disorganized and not particularly. Oh, is that an American troop division that has landed there? Okay, let's wipe it out then. They must have done a naval invasion to land in our rear with an armored division. Yeah, the Ukrainians are bringing their sailing some of their troops out. Because the divisions here, there are already too many divisions in New York. So let's see what the south is starting to look like. Okay, I think we are not fully organized yet, but we can begin the assault operations here, and the American troops under General Law, I don't think will stand much of a chance. They are relatively powerful, but I think with this group we are already actually going to push south towards Miami. We'll just drive them before us. The main problem is going to be supply and organization. So these are faster units, so we are not going to easily overrun these. But I think we can box them in Miami and get that sorted. Meanwhile, the northern flank is suffering a bit from supply. Can we upgrade the naval base in Florida here? Just for the time being. Yeah, it's a relatively small naval base. So we've got troops here. We've got additional tanks coming in. So for that we are going to need additional supply. And we've got the troops not too far away. 9th Army, Manstein's divisions not too far away. So once these are in place, we will try to push. We will try to widen the area, take the rest of New York really, and ensure that we can start pushing out from here. Meanwhile, air war is we are now facing almost a 2-to-1 numerical superiority. We're still trading 1-to-6, however, and I think we can. Bring some additional ground crews in here. We're almost at the airport in Florida already. The counterattacks by the trapped American troops are not going to go anywhere, and I think Modal's infantry is going to be capable of taking Miami without additional assistance. So how's the rest of the infantry divisions? I would really like you to be on balanced cohesion. And they haven't even managed to get out of the port because the Americans have started now to actually bring the counterattack in. So I think what we'll do here is we'll distribute the infantry along the lines here, and we'll get Model to dig in and hold while we are waiting for the cavalry to arrive. But we are about to take Miami. We are starting to see the first air battles where we are shooting down the American aces. So that's good to see. And oh yeah, Caribbean islands need to be organized. Bermuda goes to the West Indies Federation. Yeah, that I'm okay with. Are we still constructing anything? We're still building port facilities around, and I think that'll be everything. All right. Most of Modul's divisions cannot actually make it to the front lines, but I think given that this is a very swampy area, the infantry here is actually the right type of division to use. Let's go and open up a flank through the swamps north of Miami, while we are pushing the routed American troops out, and we have stabilized the front line, waiting for additional reinforcements. And we have to make sure that we keep the supply here. No allied supply for you. We have okay. There were some air attacks from Canada actually against friendly convoys. So it looks like yeah, the Canadians are actually starting to send some air support in the area to bomb our convoys, which is unfortunate. But I can't spare any fighters right now. What we might do, because we do have capacity in the airbase on Bermuda, what we might do is bring some of the training wings in. I did have 4 heavy fighter wings. Yeah, we bring those in. They can do on-the-job training. We'll bring them to Bermuda, and we'll let them take care of the eastern seaboard. They should have the range for that without too much trouble. And Central America campaign is going well. Troops are moving on Miami, and the New York situation is still waiting for reinforcements. We have now 5 Sturm divisions in New York positioned. They need to obviously organize themselves, but that should assist with holding the line somewhat better to the beleaguered Marines, because once the infantry divisions are dug in, they are going to be sufficient. They should be sufficient to hold the line against the American counterattacks. So the front lines have somewhat stabilized on the ground. The air war is still going on. The Americans are deploying whatever they can, but they are taking very high losses in the air. Deep south as well, where they have brought a large number of aircraft, but again taking quite heavy losses. And we have taken the airbase north of Miami, I believe. Yes, we have. So we can actually bring the heavy fighter wings over for additional for better air coverage, and we might actually improve the airbase in the south. Can we? I'm not sure. Okay, we probably can't. Well, Miami is now under attack from 2 sides. 5 American divisions encircled, and I think this is going to be, they are going to fall. So this is going to be the first major victory against the American troops. Combined harvesters and pesticides have completed, which means improvements to Germany's infrastructure at home, which is, I think, what we're going to be going with. And we can make further improvements to the Mitteleuropa agenda, while infantry is attacking through the swampland into Miami under contested air at this point, because we have better coverage now. I think we've got coverage mostly over the deep south air zone, so we've got better coverage, and we have additional troops in the north. The counterattacks have resumed, so the infantry is struggling to dig in here. But every time the American attacks are getting pushed back, they are taking losses, and the German troops are not taking any significant losses. So over time, American troops are going to fall in larger numbers. But of course, the interesting part here is the battle for Miami. Still, what are these? Oh, these are American transports. Okay, nothing to see here. Once the battle for Miami is concluded, and I think the first divisions are still 5 divisions, but I think they're going to be surrendering very soon. Especially now that we are contesting in the air, and they're holding on for their dear life, but it's not going to be enough. The first divisions are going to surrender here relatively soon, and then that will be the first. Yeah, first division has surrendered, and it's all down. Yeah, there they go. Okay, Miami has fallen. And with that, I think we have our first major victory. 93,000 American soldiers have surrendered in Miami. And the infantry is holding the north now, where our Weber's divisions are halfway across the Atlantic. Where do we have Guderian's panzers? Okay, Guderian's panzers should arrive in New York City relatively soon. And we are contesting. We are starting to shoot down the. We're starting to shoot down the American aircraft that are operating over the eastern seaboard. So the heavy fighter wings that have been deployed here don't really have the best range, unfortunately. But I don't have available airport capacity in New York, where we are going to bring additional craft. We're going to have to bring an additional airport in order to improve that. But at least that is some air cover for the transports. So we should be starting to see some of these planes being shot down relatively soon. And their air detection is terrifyingly bad over the area. So they find the convoys more by luck than anything. All right. New York situation is stable, so let's get back to Miami, where the troops can then these troops can already move north. And now that Miami has fallen, I think the supply situation hopefully should be slightly better. At the Florida Naval Base is being improved whenever there's no fighting going on, so it's still going to take a little bit of time. Given that the air situation over the Deep South is still troublesome, can we build up a radar station? Yeah, it's probably not a terrible idea. And we can slightly improve the airport here as well. And let's build up the infrastructure to ensure that that our troops are getting the supplies they need, because we are going to bring a tank army in here, so that is going to be necessary. All right, now we'll just wait in New York and see when we can get reinforcements in. The infantry divisions in the south have managed to dig in, I think, somewhat, but the northern area is still very much under constant enemy attack, where the 2 infantry divisions, the 302nd and the 93rd, are still trying to establish their positions. The Marines are holding this area without too much trouble. New York City radar is becoming available, and together with the radar station over here, we have actually relatively good air coverage for ensuring that any enemy fighters coming in from Canada to intercept the transports, especially Guderian's panzer divisions, that these are covered by the Luftwaffe operating out of the air bases. So the air war is going on, and despite the numerical superiority of the Americans, it is going in our favor. Our planes are faster, more agile, and very much better equipped and have more firepower than the Americans. So despite their numerical superiority, the The air war is shifting very rapidly into our favor here, and we are desperately waiting. The Marines are desperately waiting for Guderian's tanks to arrive. At which point, once the infantry is now holding the lines, once the tanks arrive, then and have broken through towards Newark, then the Marines can be relieved as well. Actually, the Marines might lead the charge across the bridges towards the other side and closer towards the Philadelphia ground zero. Where do we have the tank divisions under Weber? They are still in the middle of the ocean, so we're still going to wait for those. But these tanks are almost here, so Guderian's tanks now coming in, and with that, supply is going to be tight, but we will have some firepower. And I think we'll try to take the airport. So the first push is to expand the defensive line and bring the airport under our control to bring additional fighters in. We've got that is pretty good. We can create the single market. Or we can centralize the headquarters into Berlin. I think the single market is a good one here. So we have additional construction factory output specifically. Yeah, that is a good thing to do. And the first panzer divisions are about to land on the American continent among fierce fighting in the New York lines. So we are going to, and I'm going to try to get these onto a front line up in the north, or maybe we can we'll leave them south here, and I might actually pull them back. I'll pull them back so they can organize. And unfortunately, Agent Polyakova has been captured while deployed behind enemy lines. Polyakova was apprehended by enemy Americans' counterintelligence. Reports indicate that she is held in a remote location for interrogation. Okay, yes, we definitely have to rescue Polyakova. So let's... who do we have available? We can probably send Talwar and Bleicher. Yeah. So... Oh, we just need one operative, actually. Agent Talwar is going to rescue Polyakova from the clutches of the Americans. I will try to fall back the tanks to the eastern side, where they can manage to get organized, and then once they get refueled, get organized, and then we'll bring them to the front lines. In fact, I am going to have to leave them here for now. There we go. Okay, tanks are being unpacked, tanks are being refueled, and with that, I think Guderian is now ready, despite the fact that the enemy still holds the air, for the first serious attack on the New York front. We have an insane amount of divisions in the area, but I think we're not going to attack with the infantry. We're waiting for we'll use the infantry to hold the lines, and we're waiting for the tanks to arrive under Weber. Meanwhile, Guderian's tanks are now free to begin operations in the north, and the first operation is going to be to extend towards the airport and to capture that position. So let's see. This is a little bit ad hoc due to the realities on the ground, but there is a fair amount of enemy defense here. So the first major tank battle of New York is beginning. We have two of Guderian's panzer divisions, the 5th and the 10th, taking on the American defenders. But I think that is a battle, despite the fact that we are not controlling the air, that is going to be very quickly going to go into Guderian's favor. The first tank battle against the Flying Dutchman, but that has been over rather quickly. And just like that, Guderian's panzers have broken through. and we will clear the lines. We will clear the lines up to we'll clear the lines, get the airport under our control, and we will bring the infantry north to potentially, while they are under attack, we'll bring the infantry north to assist with holding the lines there, while the Marines can hold New York City, the original area, and we are going to get the Marine divisions prepared for a push across the bridges, to take the bridges into Jersey and to take Newark. Now the tanks are getting counterattacked, obviously, but first push of Guderian's tanks has been successful, and we're going to have to take a look where the supply lines are here. We do need to have probably we will have to take Providence or Newark. So we'll get the infantry to hold this once the tanks are done here, and then the Marines to push into the Jersey, and to take Newark for additional supply, and then we can bring the rest of Guderian's troops in. Meanwhile, it looks like General Weber's divisions are about to land, so we'll let them get organized, and then we'll begin the assault in the south as well. With the... do we already hold the airport? I think we do. Yes, we are holding the airbase in Connecticut, so let's improve that as we go. And also build up the infrastructure. Now, infrastructure is fine, it's just been bombed rather heavily. Let's bring in the support. So I'll be relocating additional fighters. New England is sort of the heaviest fighting in the air. In the deep south, the American aircraft have taken heavy losses and seem to have retreated mostly, especially after we've taken Miami. So the heavy fighters, and we can also bring the tactical bombers over, which can operate in support. And we've got 7 more fighter wings here, of which we can move now north towards Connecticut to bring additional support in the New England fighting. All right, Guderian's tanks are clearing out the positions, and we are and with the infantry moving in, we are securing the lines here. I think I can start also bringing in the rest of the 9th Army north. So let's get the rest of the 9th Army assigned here too, while the tank divisions are Guderian's tanks are holding the line for now and are pushing the Americans back across the river. But we will be bringing the infantry in once infantry troops are deployed. Then we can relieve the tanks here. For now, they will be holding. Additional aircraft coming in, and with the additional 7 fighter wings, we are now almost matching the Americans numerically. And we are having a relatively good air detection due to the radar station that's being constructed in New York. So with ground radar and additional ground crews deployed, we are in a good position. All right, tank divisions are landing, but the supply situation in the Florida area is poor, to say the least. So the main bottleneck, it's the railway bottleneck to Miami. So let's upgrade the railway situation so we can get additional supplies in from Miami and from the port, from the naval base across as well. Yeah, we've got the factories ready. So we'll wait until the supply situation has slightly been improved, because I think there isn't much supply going north until we are hitting Savannah. So that's probably going to be the first target to secure the Savannah supply base, and then from there we can push north towards Atlanta. We'll let the Luftwaffe deal with the air for now, but I think we may be able to actually push towards Providence here if we overstretch the tanks a little bit. Let's see if we can... the tanks don't have to wait for the Marines. They can probably push across the river themselves and follow up with the against the exhausted American troops, take Providence, and secure the second harbor here. And I think with that, yeah, they are crashing into the American defenders in Providence, but with that, we'll leave 2 divisions here, 2 divisions there. With that, we have an additional port in the area, and I think now we have sufficient supply. Sufficient supply to bring in the rest of Guderian's divisions. So we are going to set up Guderian's troops for a northward, and I would like all of them to be on that, for a northwards push to the Canadian border and to secure the northern area. Now the more interesting, and then we'll get the Marines. Meanwhile, the Marines should be, no, they're still planning. Let's do a staff office plan to accelerate that somewhat. We have additional infantry to shipping in to secure the lines here, but I think we are in a good position now in the north. And with the tanks being somewhat organized, it's time to award some more medals. And they already have the swords and diamonds, so let's give them the oak leaves as well as the okay, we don't have enough political power to do another one. All right, so tank divisions are moving in larger numbers, and I think Weber's tanks can now begin pushing the push north towards Savannah relatively quickly as well. So let's get the tanks on the lead to lead the charge along the coastline. We're not really going to look into necessarily defeating the Americans on the ground or getting them to surrender, but we want to secure an additional supply base, which should cut most of the supply to the American defenders here. So we'll start pushing north, and the target is Savannah, and the rest of Weber's divisions on the ground are going to assist. Now, first attack by 5th and 3rd Panzer against the relatively well entrenched Americans is not going to go easily. They have we are able to pierce. We're able to pierce the American half tracks, and their light weapons cannot really breach even the older Panzer division's armor. But that should not be a problem. All right, more Mitteleuropa actions in Europe, where we are the Europamark project, where we are creating a common currency. So let's do that as well. Lots of useful projects here, actually. The Italians want to send volunteers. That is absolutely not necessary. We have this under control. And Guderian's tanks that are in the area can push potentially north. Guderian isn't waiting for reinforcements. Guderian will push north from Providence now that infantry is digging in here, and the risk is towards Boston. And we'll see if we can manage to cut off some of the American divisions here. Despite the fact that we don't have air support, we are breaking through the American lines without too much trouble. And we are pushing in. We're pushing in the north as well with the available tank divisions, and I think the Americans are now retreating. Yes, they are retreating. So Weber is on the move, and Guderian can't wait. How is the air situation going? New England air situation. The Americans have deployed still more aircraft, so a very large number. We are seeing some of the more capable P-40s in the skies, which are giving our heavy fighters some trouble. But the Focke-Wulfs are still capable of dealing with them, and we have a very high mission efficiency and air detection at this point. So we are still able to trade roughly 1 to 4, which is a good enough trade. How's the situation here? They've lost 56 support planes, but they keep sending more. So we're taking on the Canadians here. There is another attempted naval landing this time by the Bulgarians in Canada, but these are side These are sideshows. The big moves are happening in the south, where most of the troops are now engaged. A small invasion in Yucatan, and the central, most of the Reichspakt troops are now deployed in the Central American area, which has diverted a lot of American troops down there to push them back, which gives the German army on the ground a bit more of a breather, and allows them to conduct offensive operations without too much trouble. All right, supply situation still not great. We are working on the railway upgrades in the area, but Weber's tanks might just simply outrun that and push towards Savannah, and then we'll make the move on Atlanta from there. And in the north, how is it looking? Just making sure that no, you please hold that. We might have to give the 9th Army, definitely not flexible cohesion, because they move around way too much under flexible. And we are waiting for additional divisions, but I think Guderian's tanks will leave one tank division to defend. Guderian's tanks have wiped out another 14,000 American troops in Massachusetts, which have mostly surrendered. So the tanks are now moving into their battle positions for the push northwards, while the infantry is coming in for the support. And we may have enough modern tanks. Yes, we have a fair amount of modern tanks, so we can probably start changing the remaining panzer divisions from Guderian into, into the Kampfpanzerdivision. That should be about right. Okay, so Guderian's army is now fully modernized and is getting their medals awarded, and is going to be ready for taking the northern positions. That reminds me, where do we have the? Yeah, we've still got the mountain divisions in the south. We might start bringing Fuchs's Gebirgskommando into the north as well. Once we have to, we'll bring them in once we have to start taking on the central mountain positions here. And I think the Marines are now done in Florida. So we can we'll leave them in the rear. We can push them in if they become necessary for river crossing operations. But so far Weber's tanks are doing a fair job themselves getting this to work. The 3rd Panzer is leading the charge here against relatively well dug in American troops. But the 3rd Panzer is still running Weltkrieg. Weltkrieg-era tanks, so not the modern ones just yet. We have captured a Qing operative. Yeah, definitely. We have ways of making her talk. And more attacks on transports here. American transports trying to sail out without not going to be too much luck there. But the transports have been fending that off, and we are shooting down. Yeah, we are shooting down the enemy aircraft here, so not a huge problem. And we've still got the strategic bomber wings ready as well, that are poised and ready for operations against on the ground once the Luftwaffe has secured the airways, because right now too many American fighters up in the air and interceptors. All right, do we still have, let's get back to the ground. Guderian's holding, so we can focus on Florida, where we are pushing north, and we've got some more research. May as well. The improved Landwasserschlepper, something for the Marines for future conflicts. But how far? More interestingly, how far are the Americans towards capitulation? 34% is what they need, what we need to achieve, and their war support is rapidly dwindling due to combat casualties and due to the propaganda effort that our agents undercover are running. Unfortunately, we haven't managed to catch the South Carolina She's probably repairing in port somewhere. So I'm keeping an eye on naval battles, but I think that ship is not going to come out to fight. Another Turkish attempt at creating a second landing zone in the well-defended American area, and we are actually a bit short on aluminium, so we're going to have to trade for that with the French, and we can reduce the steel trade in return. There we go. Okay, all balanced. We're just waiting in the north for tanks to arrive, and Guderian's tank divisions are now trying to force the river crossing against the 173rd against the 233rd Daniel Boone, but the American tanks again have lost that battle. I think it will leave some tanks behind here once we have taken Savannah, and we'll wait for the infantry to catch up. But we can probably once we're holding Savannah, we can make a push west and try to cut off some of the American divisions and increase the overall number of body bags that are going to return. They're still holding the riverbank. Tanks are trying to force their way across the bridges. And we have the Central American cipher decrypted. But we are now actually in complete control of the air over the Florida air zones. So the tactical bombers are able to operate. And that means we can probably start beginning bombing the American East Coast. So if we're getting the strategic bomber wings up over the East Coast and begin with just wholesale strategic destruction, really. Starting that, we can actually just do night bombing raids against Washington. So we will start. We'll see heavy bombers coming in across the ocean with fighter escort to begin bombing Washington D.C., the new American capital. All right, I think So Savannah has been taken. Tanks are moving in, and that is another port from which we can run supply. But I think we have to wait for the infrastructure and supply to catch up here, because we are about to outrun our supply pretty much. Okay, heavy American counterattacks along the lines here, but the big bombers are now up in the air, and we'll consolidate here. We'll wait for supply to catch up, and I don't think I can. Yeah, we can't improve the railway connections just yet, but we might wait a little for supply to organize itself here. And yes, we have to make sure that only German troops receive supply, and not the rest of the divisions, which hopefully improves the situation a little bit. A naval battle in the Mid-Atlantic. Oh, a Canadian naval group has made its way out. Let's quickly double check. Yeah, the 3rd Schlachtgeschwader is intercepting. So let's see if we can catch if they can catch that Canadian battle group here, while nothing much is happening on the sea, on the ground. We'll see if they can manage to make their way in. Unfortunately, we've lost 7 escort ships, and it looks like the Canadians have managed to make their way out. That means we actually need to bring the naval patrol. We've got the scout planes in, and we've got additional fighter wings, which we can distribute. Okay, see, we can bring these. We can bring these north to New England, the fighter wings. 6 fighter wings, get them to the... Yeah, we've got an additional airbase here. So let's begin that. And we've got some naval patrol wings here that we can bring over instead to... I don't think... Oh, they have range to Mid-Atlantic. So we are going to focus more on the Atlantic region now here. Aufklärungsgruppen are being transferred over to Miami, and they will begin aerial reconnaissance while we are waiting for the infrastructure projects to complete. and we can probably shrink the front line for the Second Army. So let's get that more focused in the northern area, and that'll also align more with the supply. So we'll concentrate the Second Army in the north, and they will begin pushing towards Atlanta and try to cut the Americans off near Tallahassee. There might be a cauldron that we can affect to bring in some more casualties. Right, where's the rest of Guderian's tanks? They're still on the way, and we have to make sure that the air is clear, or especially also that the sea lanes are clear, because if we're seeing that Canadian battle group operating in the region, then that might actually be somewhat tricky. Let's make sure we're including all the naval zones here, and make sure that they are on intercept. We're still repairing the fourth, and the second is being repaired. The old ships are being repaired, but the Richelieu or the Jean Bart is probably going to become a museum ship and be handed over to France, honestly. And we are actually now in the majority in the air against the Americans. There are a few bombers out there at this point, but the fighter losses have been so severe that we can start diverting some wings potentially soon for coverage. We'll bring them out from the Caribbean. We still got some heavy fighter wings south. We'll bring them north, and they can assist covering the coastline and ensuring that nothing bad happens there. And we'll see if we can reacquire that. Have they? Yeah, the naval patrols have begun, and we'll see if we can reacquire the. They should all have. Most of them have it arranged. We can reacquire these Canadian ships anywhere. All right, nothing much happening in the south. Still supply problems, but we should be able to. But the tanks are in position and are currently planning the next move. How are we on material and equipment? I think, yeah, we've still got some modern tanks actually left, so I think we can soon start changing Webers as well. Quite significant American counterattacks in the area, so we'll focus on the north first until the logistical situation in the south has been resolved. And I think we are. Where's the rest? We're going to see naval battle here. No, these are just Canadian. I'm just wary that that Guderian's panzers are not going to be intercepted on the open ocean. So once they reach the area, then we'll resume the offensive. We can centralize the headquarters in Berlin and further improve the European project. And we are how far? Okay, we've got both missions. We've got the capturing of the operative, or the rescuing of our captured operative underway, and I think then we can start the general offensive to further reduce the American will to fight. How is it looking? Some planes got shot down en route, yes, because we are covering the sea zones, but I wonder why these bomber wings are not full strength. It was an equipment tag problem, so they've got the right equipment tag now, which means they should be replenished with the America bomber without too much trouble. Yeah, just double checking that they now have the right equipment tag. Yeah, so they should be replenished now, and we are starting to see massed bombing campaigns over the ground zero in Philadelphia to destroy any kind of American infrastructure on the ground and their production capabilities. All right, Guderian's troops have landed, and the rest of his army is moving into position. And I think once they have, once they are organized, then we will begin the push northwards. we do have, we can still further improve our naval doctrines. And I think we have available, yeah, we can do the last land doctrine as well, which is going to improve reinforcement and reconnaissance. So that's all done. Further improvements to the troops on the ground. Guderian's divisions moving into place, and with the Panzer Grenadiers holding the lines, I think Guderian's tanks are now all fully modernized. It looks like one tank division is under strength, the 9th. I'm not sure if they... Did we have a naval battle where we lost something? Not sure. It looks like the enemy is now focusing air on the deep south rather than in the northern areas. They seem to, yeah, they have pulled the planes from New England and are starting to challenge us in the south. We've got 1,500 heavy fighters up in the air, but we can bring. I don't think we have much capacity left. However, yeah, we don't really have an awful lot of capacity left. All right, so for now, that's where they're focusing their efforts. So let's see. Let's see what we can. Let's see what we can do. But if the north is, yeah, New England, they've completely given up on the air zone, and the east coast as well. So we'll make our way, which means we can probably begin our attack. The Marines can begin the attack into Jersey. So let's see, with some fire support potentially. I want the tanks to lead that. Because it is across the river, with some fire support from the infantry. So let's see if we can manage to launch that assault simultaneously here with some fire support. It looks like the northern operation might be a little more tricky because of enemy counterattacks from the north. We'll give fire support from the rear, but the Marine Sturmpanzer divisions are fording the river now rather than trying to take the bridges, which hopefully takes the Americans by surprise. And we should have ground support in the area. Yes, we do have some ground support in the area, mostly fighters at this point because we were wearing them down. But we have some, yeah, we've got some ground support in the area. So I think they can manage, the Marines can manage to ford the rivers there successfully. American Continental Marine Division is trying to counterattack and diversionary attacks in the north. But I think with the Marines leading the charge, this is going to be, they are going to win the day here. And make their way across the river. Did want fire support here, if possible. And we have centralized the headquarters of Middle Europa in Berlin. And I think that completes that for now. We do need to vote for a Directorate of Enforcement next, so let's make that happen. And we can improve our score a little here by expending some political power to make sure that our suggestion goes through. Okay. Marine assaults into New Jersey are underway. I think the assault in the south has been succeeding, which means that they've managed to get across, and that means we can support the northern attack here with the infantry, which has been freed up. And there we go. New York has fallen. With that, we should be under control of the supply hub, and that gives us some additional supply in the area. And with that, I think we are now positioned to begin the assaults north with Guderian's tanks. Are they all in position? I think they are. Yeah, Guderian's panzer divisions are in position. I think we will try to... what's the supply situation here? There is a supply hub near Albany. And we can also push north towards Boston and take that as well. Take Boston and Concord, and then we'll secure the north as much as possible. Unfortunately, the Americans can retreat towards Canada, so Encircling them is going to be a different story altogether. But let's see if we can. Maybe we can manage to encircle some of the eastern divisions here. So let's see if we can get the tanks to lead the charge, reach Montpellier, and then cut across towards Concord. And we have the infantry in support. We have the mobile infantry, the Panzergrenadier in support. So that should not be a problem of these tanks getting cut off anyway. So Guderian's panzers are on the move and are steamrolling the American defenders here without too much trouble. They are rapidly bringing in their own tank divisions, but the first panzer battles are very much in favor of the German troops. Guderian's tanks are far superior and also more numerous than the American defenders. And we don't really... What else do we have to do here? We can do some industrial improvements in Germany, in the homeland. It's always a good option. And watch Guderian's tanks moving, rolling through the northern areas here rapidly, with the Panzergrenadier divisions filling up the rear. And given that the Americans have given up the air over New England, mostly, they are now bringing reinforcements back in, but mostly given up on the air over New England. That should not be a massive problem. Guderian's tanks are simply breaking through, pushing the Americans away, now having to make their way through the hills and through the hilly areas, which is also going to stretch their supply. But if they can reach Concord, and it looks like the Turkish or the Ottomans are mounting a diversionary naval invasion, but if Guderian's tanks can make their way through, reach Concord, then we can spring the trap from the south and wipe out the remaining divisions there. Let's make sure that we are concentrating on that particular front line. So we're going to pull back the counterattacks here near Montpellier. It looks like the tanks are simply we'll leave one panzer division behind. The tanks are simply too fast that they are even outrunning their own support divisions. The Turkish have actually landed, which means we can directly push into Concord, and the Americans are now cut off, which means the tank divisions from the south can make their move onto Boston, supported by the 9th Army's infantry divisions. And we'll deal with that in a minute. And we are moving from all directions now against the encircled American divisions, and that should be a fairly sizable part of the Northern Army. Now, what does Beijing want? We have received word from Shanghai that the Chinese, now united under a single government for the first time in decades, wish to renegotiate the status of the legation cities. Put plainly, they are demanding the immediate return of all our concessions in China. Many intellectuals would argue that the legation cities are echoes of a bygone age, but there are a few places in the world as profitable as Shanghai, or as strategically important. Our generals point out the difficulty in holding such a small set of territories against a country as large as China, with its vast reserves of manpower, but gunboat diplomacy has yet to meet its match. The legation cities may attempt to defend themselves in one way or another, but should we decide to act, we must be prepared to do so to the hilt. That is indeed an issue, because these are very small. Most of these are very small provinces, which means that I think they would immediately suffer from the encirclement problems. However, I do not see Germany will not bow to the Qing Empire. The Qing Empire has been uppity recently, so I think we will be deploying Friedrich Paulus's troops as as area defense in along the legation cities. So that should we should be able to defend our interests here. Although we are currently embroiled in a war with the USAS, but we do have the for example the Japanese as well, who could pitch in here. So can we convert all of these into Panzergrenadier divisions? No, we don't have enough mechanized. All right, that's fine, but we can probably convert maybe to 3 into Panzergrenadiers. Yes, we can. Okay. So that's done. Okay, we'll send Paulus. We'll send Paulus's divisions over, and he will have new orders to secure the region. And while we are strategically holding the Chinese, waiting for not giving the Chinese any responses, we are watching the complete collapse of the American Northern Army, and the Turkish landings have been obviously successful now due to our actions here on the ground. But the encircled American troops are now very rapidly collapsing, and this is going to be a mass surrender, I think, of a very large amount of American divisions. There we go. And with that, the Americans have lost... Okay, I'm going to have to manually sum that up. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 divisions. So round about, I'd say 300,000 troops have surrendered in the area in Boston. The Americans still have a sizable army, and German losses so far are very, very insignificant compared to what the Americans are fielding. However, the mood in the country is, the support for the war in the country still is being reduced, and that is something we have to be aware of. So, how is the situation in Beijing? You'll hear from me. You'll hear from me soon. How's the supply situation in the south? I think we are almost done improving the railway system here, and bringing as much supply as we can. Yeah, I think Weber's troops are mostly supplied. They could still get a little more. We'll see if we can gather a little more, and then we will launch the operations here. But for now, let's see where we'll wait until Paulus is in position. Currently, his divisions are actually moving through China into the legation cities, in order to, and obviously through the sea, in order to from their positions, in order to secure that against China, and to have sufficient firepower in the area should it become necessary. So I think that comes in the next episode. For now, we have brought the U.S. Air Force down. There's literally no resistance anymore along the eastern seaboard, except for a relatively small number of, or comparatively small number of enemy fighters. They have taken massive losses. If we're taking a quick look, they still have about 3,000 fighters overall, but that is not going. They have lost probably. Last time we checked, they had about 25,000 aircraft. So they have lost most of their fighter cover, which means that with the Luftwaffe in control, they're not going to be ruling the air anymore. We should be starting to see bombing effects. Actually, how have the heavy bombers, the strategic bombers, been doing? Yeah, the strategic bombers are doing their work here. So I think we can switch them to, or we can switch them 5 strategic bombers. They can now switch to day and night operations. and continue the bombing of the U.S. East positions. Will probably once Guderian has secured the areas in the north there, I think Guderian can then focus on further breakthroughs with the help of the Marines and make his way along towards Ground Zero in Philadelphia, while we are then, once we've taken Atlanta, going to push up the East Coast towards Washington, D.C. And hopefully with these pitched battles on the U.S. East Coast, the American government will eventually be ousted by their own population. The war support is continuously dropping, which means that their surrender limit is going to be reduced significantly as well. The war in Central America means that Finland is now under control of most of the Central American jungle. I am not sure how well they are feeling there, but friendly troops, Reichspakt troops, are in support of the Finns, and this is diverting a large number of American troops that they simply don't have available to defend themselves on the East Coast.